Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MTGO Traders. My name is Taryn, and this is the last Dominaria deck tech before Core Set 2019 is released. This is Mono Green Elves for Dominaria Standard. So I'm going to jump ahead of the comments real quick and say that this deck is definitely going to be updated as soon as we get new cards into the actual MTGO card pool, so I can do some testing and get some matches for you guys on the channel with the deck tech. But right now, before Core Set 2019 comes out, Dominaria's Elves, or Dominaria Standard Elves, is actually not bad at all, especially if you just go mono green. Of course, right now green is in a really great place thanks to just mono green stompy in general, but there are just a ton of really great elves all the way back from Kaladesh to now that really provide some great utility and a lot of power going forward. So let's jump right into it, guys, starting with our low curve on our creatures. We have Llanowar Elves, Narnum Renegade, and Greenwill Liberator. So Llanowar Elves is, of course, the greatest one-drop of all time for our elves, well, for Standard at least. It's a great card for us. They 1/1 coming in tapping, giving us green mana, so giving us the ability to play a turn 3 mana, turn 2 creature, so very good for us. Narnum Renegade is great for Revolt here, a 1 green mana 1/2. Death Touch here is almost all you need. Just being a 1 mana 1/2 with Death Touch is just perfect. But if we have a permanent leave the battlefield the turn we play this card, it actually comes in with an additional +1/+1 counter on it, making it a 2/3, so I'm making it even more powerful than it already is. But just playing a 1 mana Death Touch is also nice as well. Greenwill Liberator, very similar here, a 2 mana 2/1. It actually comes in with Revolt, and if Revolt is activated, it comes in with 2 +1/+1 counters, making it a 4/3. So a very, very powerful card on the play if opponent destroys something after combat. So this is a main phase 2 play for sure. Narnum Renegade, not so much as far as how we want to play it. If we do get a main phase 2 play here for the Renegade, making it a 2/3, that's great, but really you're just going to have it as a great blocker for any kind of large creature coming our way. Moving on up the curve here, we have our 3-drops, Marwyn the Nurturer, Rishkar Pima Renegade, and you know it, Still Leaf Champion and Elf Knight here. 5/4, can be blocked with creatures with power 2 or less, super good card on turn 2 thanks to our Llanowar Elf, just amazingly fast, and can just basically end the game if opponent is not ready for it. It gets around all those pesky lightning strikes, abrades, things like that, so just a great card to start out on turn 2. Rishkar Pima Renegade is a great card for us to kind of ramp even more quickly, getting 2 +1/+1 counters distributed amongst 2 creatures, so making a Llanowar Elf a 2/2, or a Rishkar, or a Narnum Renegade, sorry, not a Rishkar, a Narnum Renegade, a 2/3, or a 3/4, and so on, things like that. But they also have the ability to tap if they have counters on top of them, so very good for that reason as well. Marwyn the Nurturer, though, is one of our heavy hitters if we have enough 1-drops coming into the battlefield or 2-drops coming into the battlefield soon enough. A 3 mana 1/1, it gets a +1/+1 counter anytime we have an elf entering the battlefield, and we can tap her and add any amount of green equal to Marwyn's power. So if it's a 5/5, we tap it, it adds 5 green to our mana pool, which just allows us to play cards just like Verdurous Gearhulk. This is the top of our curve here, a 5 mana 4/4 with Trample. We have 2 of them in here. When it enters the battlefield, distribute 4 +1/+1 counters among any number of target creatures you control. We're here all about that fast, aggressive strategy, playing a Verdurous Gearhulk on turn 4, maybe even a turn 3 if we have enough stuff for the Nurturer there. Super good for us, just a very, very good card overall, and I really do appreciate how Gearhulk can make the situation where we're attacking out with our 1/1s and all of a sudden they turn into 2/2s or 3/3s or even a 5/5 if we just pump up our Llanowar Elf into a 5/5. You can definitely do that. But that is all the creatures in the main board. Let's go over our 1 of Planeswalker, or 2 of actually. This is Nissa Vital Force, a 5 mana 5 loyalty, +1, makes a land attacker, making it a 5/5 for the turn as a blocker or an attacker. -3, we get to return a permanent from the graveyard to our hand, so that's like another Verdurous Gearhulk or a Marwyn or a Rishkar, something like that. And -6, we get to draw a card anytime we lay a land, so very useful for us. And of course, 5 loyalty means it's going to be able to survive a lot of damage, like a lightning strike or something like that towards the face. So can't get around a kicked fight with fire, but it can get around most stuff in the format right now. Moving on to some more spells here, we've got a Blossoming Defense, Song of Freyalise. I think that's how you pronounce it correctly. I'm sure the comments will tell me how it's pronounced. Blossoming Defense is a great card to get around a braid, lightning strike, that kind of stuff, or survive a Goblin Chain Whirler coming into the battlefield. If you want to have a Marwyn that wants to survive for the turn, just use Blossoming Defense, making it a 3/3. It survives for the turn if it doesn't have a counter on it. Freyalise is here for us to kind of ramp the first 2 turns, as well as make all of our creatures get +1/+1 counters and make them Vigilance, Trample, and Indestructible for a turn. So super good card if we go really, really wide on turn 1 through 3. This is more of a turn 4, turn 5, turn 6 kind of play, because it does mean that if our board is very, very wide, this card is going to end the match for us for sure. Moving on to some more spells and artifacts, we have Adventurous Impulse and Lifecrafter's Bestiary. So Bestiary is here for that control matchup, giving us the ability to scry, as well as draw some cards if we have some extra green mana, thanks to the Nurturer or the Llanowar Elf. Very, very good card for us. And Adventurous Impulse here is for us to get into early land and creatures if we need them. So Adventurous Impulse has the ability to look at the top 3 cards, reveal a creature or land, put them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library. So hopefully we get into a land, Llanowar Elf. That'll be great for us, but if we don't, we go for an Adventurous Impulse on turn 1 and go for a Llanowar Elf off of that, or go for a land if we need a third one. That is all the cards in here besides the lands here. Let's go over lands real quickly. We have 18 Forest, 3 Heshep Oasis, 1 Field of Ruin, and 1 Scavenger Grounds. Could have probably put another Scavenger Grounds, but still each champion is 3 green mana, just solid. So we really want to make sure that we have that green mana as soon as possible and as quickly as possible. Field of Ruin and Scavenger Grounds is almost kind of pushing it when you have cards like that where they need that double or triple color stroke like that. So just a very, very simple kind of mana base here. Field of Ruin here to destroy a flipped Legion's Landing, a flipped Search for Azcanta, things like that. Scavenger Grounds is to get rid of a graveyard for a recursion strategy like a Scarab God, stuff like that. And Heshep Oasis is just to go large in the mid to late game when we need to kind of close out a game. But that is it for game 1. Let's go into our sideboard and see what we can do in game 2. This is some removal here for us. Nature's Way, Pierce the Sky, which will probably be replaced by Plummet, thanks to, of course, at 2019. Universal Solvent and Sky Sovereign Console Flagship. So Sky Sovereign at 5 mana, 5/6, with Flying Crew for 3. We're actually probably not going to crew this as much, but when it does enter for 5, it does do 3 points of damage to an opponent's creature or a Planeswalker an opponent controls, so very useful for us. Universal Solvent, just a great way to get rid of a permanent on their side of the field, so that can be a land even, so we don't really want to get rid of lands, honestly, but we do want to get rid of like Planeswalkers, things like that, and green really doesn't have any answers for that except for Universal Solvent right now. Pierce the Sky, just great combat trick for getting rid of a Glorybringer, getting rid of a Rekindling Phoenix, things like that. And Nature's Way is just a great way for us to get vigilance on a creature, as well as be able to kill something on their side of the field if we have a pumped up Gearhulk or pumped up Morrowind. Moving on to the other half here, we have some Naturalize, Aethersphere Harvester, Shaper Sanctuary, and Heroic Intervention. This is to kind of help us with the heavy control lists where they have lots of removal or lots of artifacts or enchantments for us as well. History Benalia is still a huge threat in the format, so Naturalize is very important for us. Aethersphere Harvester is a great way to block those kind of cards as well as gain us some life. And Shaper Sanctuary is here for us if we have opponents that have lots of removal like mono red or black-red, stuff like that. Lots of black and red, basically. We want to have Shaper Sanctuary coming in for that particular matchup. And Heroic Intervention is here for a Goblin Chain Whirler or any kind of board-wide kind of stuff that they have, like a Sweltering Sun, stuff like that. But that is the full 75, folks, so let's go to the actual list here on MTGO Traders. If you want to build this in paper, it's coming to about $72, but if you want to build this online, it's coming to about $24. Either way, this is a super budget build, and I feel like going forward with Core Set 2019, this deck is just going to get a lot better for us with all of the new elves in the format. I really think right now, though, if you want to build this in online or on paper, this is just a great build overall. But that is the deck, guys. Let's get into some matches and show you how this deck runs. Alright guys, let's see what this budget mono green elves list can do in our matches today. So first up, have a pretty decent hand with just 2 lands. Adventurous Impulse is helping us getting a 3rd land because we have 2 champions in our hand here, which is really, really good. Opponent is on white. We just go for another land here. Everything in our hand is 3 mana, so we want to make sure that we hit our 3rd land drop, so we did do that. So champions coming out on turn 3, whether we like it or not. The opponent has an Aether up here, so we're seeing a multicolored list from them. There is a green mana, then a Mox. Very strange. Then go for a Gideon here. So we're like, okay, so maybe they're on like a control thing. They shut down the Steel Leaf Champion. We play out another one. I can't attack with it just yet, but we do have 2 ways to kind of kill that Gideon. They have a 5 mana here with the Mox because it does tap for white mana since Gideon is a white mana source. Then they go for Huatli here, which is super interesting, going for the 0 ability, making a 3/3 with Trample. So we can't really get around that since it doesn't have a 2 power or less. So we just make another champion and attack out for Gideon. We just they chump block with the 3/3 Trampler, and then we pass the turn back to them. They're going to make another 3/3 here, and then turn off another champion. So good lockdown strategy from them. We have a Marwyn here, getting that out, and then playing out another attack here, trying to get in as much as we can. But they have 4 mana, 5 mana open, and they, of course, have the Settle the Wreckage for this play. So we actually get rid of 2 of our champions. We play out 2 lands. Not too terrible, but it is a step in the backwards direction. Go for a Narnum there. It does get a +1/+1 counter thanks to Revolt. They play out a land here. And at this point in the game, we're really looking to try and slow them down. But they have Sweltering Suns here, which we go for Blossoming Defense on the Renegade here because the Death Touch is more important to us than the counters going on the Elf here. They go for a 0 ability as well. And then the Aethersphere Harvester. So they still have lots of tools here to do stuff with. We, of course, get into a land. We go with a Pump here on the Renegade, trying to still get in some damage. Of course, they're going to go with the Chump Block with the Dinosaur here. And that's exactly what they do. 2 cards in their hand, 0 cards in ours. We're definitely out of gas and hoping they don't pull into anything too important. But they go for a Oath of Ajani here, and then right off of that, they go for a Chandra, and I'm like, I've seen enough, and we go for a GG concede there on that first game. Pulling in Heroic Intervention, Song is out, bringing in Solvent and Aether Harvester, taking out one Narnum Renegade, and then just kind of going into game 2 here. Let's see what we can do. Go for an Elf on the turn 1, so a good play for us. They go for a Evolving Wilds for them. They are a multicolored deck, so Evolving Wilds is pretty decent for them on turn 1. We go for another land here and go Rishkar Peanut Renegade to try and pump up our board state, trying to get through a Goblin Chain Whirler or a Sweltering Suns if we can help it. We have lots of options here, but we should go for the Still Leaf Champion because they don't have that much mana just yet, so we're going to try and go for that. One more mana does mean a Gearhulk is online for us as well. There's their third land, going for Oath of Ajani, so a little bit of a slow start for them. We hit our land, so we can't go for a Rishkar or a Virtuous Hero. We go for Rishkar instead because we want to make sure that we can attack out with a large beater like the Steel Leaf Champion, just in case they hit their 4th land drop with a Settle in hand, so that way we only lose 1 creature and not everybody with the attack this coming turn. We go for a Virtuous Gearhulk this turn, putting most of the counters on the Elf and the Pima Renegade, or on the Llanowar Elf Pima Renegade. Putting another one on the Steel Leaf Champion, attacking in for 7, and kind of expecting a Settle the Wreckage here. And they do answer with a Settle the Wreckage, so we do have our creature exile, but we still have lots of power on the board state thanks to Virtuous Gearhulk here. Blossoming Defense and Heroic Intervention is also in their hand. Rishkar being a great way for us to use Blossoming Defense this turn. And they just go for a Gideon here, and trying to go with a +1 on the Virtuous Gearhulk, but we have Blossoming Defense to shut that down and say, okay, well, you're basically dead next turn if you don't have anything, since we have Hashep Oasis on the battlefield. So we're kind of representing lethal here. They tap, going for, I'm assuming, an Abrade off their hand, but they don't have it in their hand. They can't use it thanks to the Hexproof. So that's it. That's for game 2. Let's get into game 3 here and see what we can do. We take out 1 Nissa, and we bring in a Sky Sovereign there. Sky Sovereign's a little bit easier for the Planeswalker strategy. They have a Mox on turn 1, so it kind of scares us a little bit, but we have a Llanowar Elf as well for us. Steel Leaf Champion on turn 2 for us looks pretty good. They have a 2 here for Oath of Ajani. Does turn on Oath again, or Moxes, and then we go for a Champion here, pass turn back. They have another land drop, so 4 mana already thanks to that Oath of Ajani. We go for a 3rd land here and attack in for our 5, expecting a settle, but we actually aren't seeing it, so that's good for us. And then we just go for a Adventurous Impulse, grabbing I believe the Liberator. Yeah, the Liberator. Pass turn back to them here. Another land drop in black. Go for another land drop. Then we just attack in again with our 5/4. Keep in mind it's, a 4th of their life every single time it attacks in. And then we just play out the Gearhulk here by tapping the Llanowar Elf. Distributing all the counters on the Gearhulk and the Elf. Making sure that our follow-up play with a champion attack does mean that if they do settle that, we still have lots of stuff there. And that is it for the game on match 1. Let's get into match 2 here. Alright, match 2 here. They go for their dual land. We go for Llanowar Elf and just pass the turn. This deck is super simple as far as piloting itself. Just lots of fun stuff to interact with here. We're going to go for a Rishkar on turn 2. If we don't get a champion, we'll have the Rishkar, so not a good sign for us for sure. They have the cut there for the Rishkar, so we just go up and play a follow-up Rishkar to this situation and making sure we can actually attack in with a 3/3 Llanowar Elf thanks to that. 4 mana for our opponent now. They pass the turn. We go for another land here. We could go for a Llanowar Elf or something like that, but we want to go for an attack first, getting in for 6 if we can. Then getting out a Llanowar Elf and holding up a Blossoming Defense, just in case. But they have a Glimmer of Genius there. Was expecting sort of a Vraska's Contempt, but got Glimmer of Genius instead. Search for Azcanta here and chart a course. They're on some weird control strategy. Hashep Oasis here for us. We're just going to go for a Virtuous Gearhulk since they're completely tapped out, and then just swing in for game. And then, game 2 here, we're going to get out the Song of Freyalise, bring in some Naturalizes because of the Search for Azcanta, take out Bestiary, and just hit Submit. And yeah, they're back on the dual land here. We're going to go for a Llanowar Elf once more, pass the turn back. They have an Opt, so Opt is in their deck as well. So 2 lands for them. We're going to go for another land and go for a Marwyn here, but they have a Censor, so that does get rid of that. That's kind of sad. 5 cards in their hand. They're going to go for a Charter Course. We're going to go for a Stillleaf Champion. They only have 1 mana up, so we just go for that and pass. Trying to hold a Llanowar Elf up, like trying to kind of bluff that we have a Blossoming Defense. They go for another Opt here. 4 mana, going for a Struggle, trying to kill that champion, and they succeed. We go for another land here. Go for Adventurous Impulse, so completely whiff, and then get in for 1 point of damage. We're keeping the Non-Armed Renegade and the Renegade, Liberator in our hand because of the Sweltering Suns, possibly from this deck here. This is a Grixis control list, so we're expecting a Sweltering Suns. We get in for some damage here over and over again for several turns. Heroic Intervention is a decent card for us if they have a board wiper. However, it is very bad against, there's a Sweltering Sun cycle right there, very bad against an Hour Devastation, so we want to make sure that if we do play out stuff, they don't have Hour Devastation just yet. So we're going to get in for another point of damage here, 4 cards in their hand, and I think we see another Sweltering Sun cycle on the end step here. Yep, there's another Sweltering Sun, so they probably have an Hour Devastation in their hand at this point, where we just want to go with a Marvin here, the Nurturer, Marwyn, not Marvin, and get in for 1 point of damage. Dropping them down to 15. So, again, just kind of holding out here. They have a Harness Lightning for Marwyn, which is not bad, but still no giant board wipe for us. We're just going to continue to ping for 1 point of damage, holding in our creature here. Expecting some removal from this 1/1 here, but still not. We go for the Liberator, and at this point we're thinking that, or I'm thinking that there may be a Hour Devastation or some form of removal. More Harness Lightnings, though, so continuing to see that. A tap land, they have 2 cards in hand. We're going to go Stillleaf Champion and just get in for 1 here. Now, this will probably prompt a giant removal spell like a Vraska's Contempt or something, so we'll see what happens here. There's a cut there, so we're going to go for Heroic Intervention, trying to mitigate this situation. They have a Glimmer of Genius trying to whiff into a control spell, but they don't get it, and then actually the champion survives for the turn. They play an Aether Hub, they have 2 cards in hand. I was expecting an Hour there, but we did not see it. Let's get in for some damage here, getting in for 6, dropping them down to 7. We're not going to play out our creatures just yet. We're still going to be a little conservative because I'm thinking they may have another removal spell. And they do. They have Hour Devastation, so all of our creatures go to the graveyard here. Risk Harpoon Renegade, Non-Armed Renegade, and the Liberator are all in our hands, so we're just going to play out everything since we know that they're completely out of gas at this point in the match. Making sure that the Renegade comes out first with Rishkar, so they have counters on both of them. And then we just pass turn, holding up, thinking they may have another removal spell. Primal Amulet coming on their side of the field. We've got enough on our side of the field for a pump here, and then just in the game. If they don't have a Dissolve here, or Disallow, then that's going to be game for them. Now let's get on to game 3, or match 3 here. Match 3 has us starting off with another decent opening hand. Another Llanowar Elf opening play, just like normal. And we just go for another land here and go for a Song here because we want to have the ability to hopefully get into some more creatures because it's very, very good if we have a wider board state. It just takes us 3 turns to get that way. So they go for a second land drop. We have 2 Non-Armed Renegades here. We just want to kind of dump those out onto the battlefield as quickly as possible since we do have the Song on the battlefield too. So getting this out. And they see our situation, and then actually they scoop it up for game 1. I'm guessing they don't have too many cards they got into on their opening hand, so we get into game 2 here and just kind of hold because we really don't know what we're playing up against just yet. Green-black on the tap. We're going to go for a Llanowar Elf again, and then we're going to have a Stillleaf Champion on the play on turn 2 thanks to our Llanowar Elf. Serving to the Conduit here for them. We're going to go for a Champion here. Just a fantastic turn 2 play. Lots of power coming in against them. They can do Vraska's Contempt here, and I believe they go for it this turn. Nope, they go for Karn instead, giving them the +1. They get Blooming Marsh off of that. We're going to go with a land here. And because we have 5 power, or 6 power on the board rather, we just go and kill Karn because Karn is a huge threat to us at the moment. They just play out a Stillleaf Champion in main phase 2. So lots of power on the board still. They go with a complete tap here, go for Vraska's Contempt on the untapped Stillleaf Champion, getting it in for some damage. We're just going to swing in here for 6 points of damage, dropping them down to 16. Pass the turn, play out another champion because we keep top decking into them. And then 4 lands for them, 5 lands on the tap land there. And then they go for a Drover of the Mighty. Not really sure what the deck is about here, but they should have some dinosaurs in there. I'm going to go for a land here, play that out, and just get in for 10 points of damage. Lots of power here. They can't block any of that. They're down to 6. We play out a Llanowar Elf, and then we hold up a Heroic Intervention just in case of some weird board wipe ability. That's it for game 2. And let's get into match 4 here. actually recorded match 4 because that game 3 was so fast. Again, turn 1 Land War Elf, that's exactly what you want to have. We don't have a Steel Leaf champion this turn thanks to that Field of Ruin, but we do have Rishkar here, which means we can still get out a Steel Leaf champion the following turn, so not too bad here. Opponent is playing a very strange Warriors deck, so it's a super interesting deck to watch happen, so I hope you guys do like it. But we're just going to get out a champion here as quickly as we possibly can. And then just pass turn. Song is in our hand as well, so being a very good play for us as well. Radiant Destiny, so they name Warrior here, turning that into a 3/2. We get in for 5/4. They don't block, and then just go for a Marwyn the Nurturer here. Opponent's turn here, laying another land. Was expecting maybe a Settle the Wreckage play or a cast out, but nope, they go for some creatures here. On-crop Crasher is a hard to deal with creature, and they just kind of crash in for 4. We don't block at all. We take that going down to 16. Want to make sure that our actual board state is quite large for a while. This makes the Marwyn the Nurturer a little bit larger. Then we go for another Land War Elf here. And because we have the 2 power or 3 power on the Nurturer, we actually can get out that and just swing in for 5 once again. Holding up Rishkar Pima Renegade with that Blossoming Defense just in case. They top deck into another Crasher here, so they go for the attack here, and they're going to exert their Crashers, trying to make sure that the Death Toucher cannot block. So they actually, I'm trying to pay attention to which ones they're targeting first, so that one actually targets Rishkar, and then I'm going to say, okay, well I'm going to tap Rishkar and make sure that the Death Toucher is hexproof so you can't target it, and make sure that the Death Toucher does kill one of the on-crop Crashers. We're down to 7 here, but we have tons of stuff to work with. We're going to go with the Steel Leaf champion here with the Marwyn the Nurturer here. Just tapping, getting that out as quickly as possible. And then have the Liberator in our hand. We're just going to put that out as well, just to have another attacker for next turn. After an attack here with the Steel Leaf champion, they still just let it hit them, which is crazy to me. We go in for our creature there and pass turn again. We have 5 blockers to their 3 blockers. Combat Celebrant here, and they just go for an Exert here on the champion. And then, yeah, we're going to go for blocks here really quickly. And I'm not sure why they attacked there. They shouldn't have attacked, because this coming turn we have everything getting +1/+1 and Trample, Vigilance, and Indestructible. So we just kind of swing out with everything. And that is, you know, that's going to be game here. So they're going to try and go for blocks here, but because we have Trample and everything, it shouldn't matter as much. That's just going to be game either way. And then we get into game 3 right after the opponent figures out that they're dead. Getting into game 3 here. We take out the Song, we take out the Bestiary, bring in Sky Sovereign, bring in Aethersphere Harvester, bring in one more Nissa. We took them out, but brought them back in. They're on the play. We go for a green here and go for Adventurous Impulse, getting a Land War Elf, so not bad play, just a little awkward for us. Going for another 1/1, giving us something haste. We go for Land War Elf and then go for a Narnum Renegade. And then they have 3 mana here, 5 cards in hand. They're going to go for another give something haste, and then, of course, a Glorybound Initiate, so a very good card for them. We're going to hold up a Blossoming Defense this turn because of the 3/1 there that can give lifelink and all that kind of fun stuff. So they go for Radiant Destiny, trying to get that Warrior Vigilance so the Exerts aren't as difficult to get off. They get in for some damage here. We let it happen. We get out a land here. We can play out the Nissa right here this turn, which is exactly what we do. Untap this because we know that the land can actually still be tapped for mana. So we're keeping that up for that Blossoming Defense the following turn here. 2 cards in hand, they lay out a land here. Another Glorybound Initiate. They also use one of their creatures with a Radiant Destiny there, so they do have, you know, the City's Blessing. They give the other creature their haste, and they swing out with both of them. I believe exerting just one and not exerting the other. Not too sure why they did that. I feel like it might have been a little bit of a play mistake there. We still have to go with a block here. And then we go with a Blossoming Defense on our land to not miss our land drop, and make sure that it does kill the Initiate there. Go for a land drop here, and we need to get into something a little more impactful on the board state. So we get our Rishkar here, getting some counters onto our Elf and Rishkar, and then just plussing our Nissa here to untap a land, making it a 5/5 for a block if you want to, or just attack in for 5, which is what we do. We attack in for 5. Passing turn here with a Liberator at the end step, or main phase 2, then the end step. We only have a land in our hand here, so we really do need to get into something a little more impactful. Let's see, they get into a Combat Celebrant, which is not that great for them, but it is very powerful as far as clearing the board state for us. Thanks to those 2 Radiant Destinies there. We go the double block on the 3/3 here with Vigilance, which might have been a misplay for us, but not too terrible here. We're going to go with Marwyn here and make another 5/5. Continue to attack out with our 5/5 here because we do have 4 power to be able to block that Combat Celebrant. on-crop Crashers off the top. They had 0 cards in hand, so that was an amazing top deck. It does mean that they will be attacking in here towards Nissa and towards our life total. And of course, Combat Celebrant means that they will have a secondary attack phase, so not great for us here. We're just going to go with a block here on the Combat Celebrant, and then they actually skipped their second attack phase. Not really sure why they did that. But we're going to go with a Llanowar Elf here, and then just animate a land and pass the turn, I believe. Yes. They attack it with their 3/3, their Combat Celebrant, and the Crasher once again. Crasher with Vigilance here is just scary. This is a fun deck I kind of want to build myself now, especially with Core Set coming out. But yeah, Crasher with the Vigilance is just insane. We go with the double block there on the Celebrant, killing that, and then they have a secondary thing, and that's it for us. Let's get into Game 3 here. Hoping to try and turn our tide here. Thought about bringing in Nature's Way for a minute, but we bring in Naturalized instead because those Radiant Destinies are a pain in the butt to deal with. And I believe that's it. Actually, we bring in the Nissa there, and then take out the Sky Sovereign. We do keep an opening hand with 1 land, so it is a very scary hand, but Llanowar Elves does make it a little bit easier for us. They lay a land here. Pass turn, we top deck into a land, which is perfect. Then we get into our Marwyn here, and then just hopefully get this train rolling. 6 cards here, second land drop. Gonna go for a Metallic Mimic for Warrior here. Gonna go for another land drop here. We're gonna go for the Narnam Renegade. All we're gonna do now is get out as many creatures as we possibly can for Marwyn here to be able to be more powerful. We attack in for 3. Could have attacked in with a Llanowar Elf there, but wanted to kind of feint a Blossoming Defense just in case. 5 cards for opponent here. They go for their 3/3 and a Glorybound Initiate there. We have another Marwyn just in case our Marwyn dies. So we're gonna get out the Liberator here to make our creature a 4/4, and then hold up our Heroic Intervention just in case of blocks happening. Now the thing here is they have a Metallic Mimic coming in here, and then they want to try and have a removal spell for the Renegade since it does have Death Touch here, which they do succeed in doing that. We kind of just let that happen because we want to make sure that they actually attack in and they lose their Glorybound Initiate with the attack. So they attack in here, and then we're just going to go Heroic Intervention with the block thanks to our the Nurturer here. Gonna double block this way, just in case of something screwy, and then go for a Heroic Intervention, making sure everything is indestructible and hexproof, and then they lose their Initiate there. Llanowar Elf off the top for us, needing to get into something a little bit more impactful. Can't play our Marwyn, but we do have a 5/5 here, which is not bad at all. We're passing the turn back to our opponent here. They go for a Radiant Destiny, which is kind of scary, but they do pass the turn. So we have a few turns here. We just kind of pass the turn back and forth because we keep top decking gas. But the gas we're top decking is pretty equal in measure because Marwyn now is a 6/6, and they can't really attack into that. But they do have a Combat Celebrant here, which does make it a little more awkward for us. They have 0 cards in hand. Then we top deck into a Nissa here, which means our tide is starting to turn. We go with a -2, trying to see if there's anything in the graveyard, but there is not. We go for a land here, making it a 5/5, and just passing, holding up blocks. Trying to get into a situation where we get into something a little more impactful, like Rishkar here, to pump our board state to make sure that, if they're attacking in, we have a way to block them, or if we're attacking in, we have a way to make sure that we trade effectively. We want to keep in mind on that Chef at Dunes on their side of the field, though, because Chef at Dunes is a scary card to look at. They get into another creature. It's a 4/4. We have Naturalize off the top there. We wait for the upkeep play and see if they have a secondary play here. They have another Radiant Destiny, so we could have waited here for the attack, but we still instead go for the Radiant Destiny kill before the second Radiant Destiny hits the battlefield. We should have waited for the attack phase to happen so we can get some good trades, but we did not do that. We just go for another Rishkar here. Choosing to put more counters on creatures that do not have counters, making one of our Liberators a 4/3, I believe, and then passing the turn back to them. They just top deck a land. We top deck into a champion. We just have nothing but gas in this deck right here. And then make another land here, and then next turn is when we start attacking for our big moves. They top deck another land. We go for another Llanowar Elf, and yeah, we're just going to go with a land here and attack in with everything that we have that's huge. So the 5/5 land, the 10/10 creature, the 4/3, and the 5/4 that can only be blocked by creatures with 2 power or more. So they're going to be trading. That's going to be dying. And then they see here. I think they're going to trade a Mimic as well. So not too bad on their side. I would call that a victory for us. We do go for a negative here and get back the Sea Leaf Champion, just replaying that out. We do not get a 5/5 land here, but we do have a champion to still block. We attack in for 10 saying, do you want to trade here? And they do offer the trade, which is very nice for them, or for us. We do lose our creature, but then we have the follow-up Nurturer play right after that, so not bad at all. Keep in mind, we're still at 20, they're at 17, so doing a lot of ground pounding right now. We go for the emblem here off of Nissa, trying to get into a little more utility thanks to our card draw with hitting into lands, since we haven't hit many lands in the game. They go for an attack there for some reason, and we block. We draw into a land here, Darnum Renegade, and I think that's the attack phase right here. Yeah, that's the attack, that's the alpha, and that closes out the match. Nice. But that's it for the video, guys. Hope you did appreciate it. If you like it, like the video if you like it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a comment below with any kind of suggestions moving forward for this kind of deck list. Would love to hear what you guys have to say. And let me know what kind of decks you want me to cover in the near future. There are so many mill options right now. Of course, at 2019, I'm definitely going to be building a mill deck very, very soon. So look forward to that, guys. But as for now, thank you so much for watching the video. Check out all the other videos on the channel, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.